It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
I know some of you were mad about Virna.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived.
But I had to give it to Cleely.
I
just did.
Himself, Ariel Helwani. Live from the Box Studios in beautiful New York
shout out to Mike Heck.
It's On the Nose. And now, to answer your questions, get out of your seats.
Get out of your seats.
Because
on your feet.
Ariel Helwani.
That's me, baby. Everyone's favorite segment of the week, On the Nose, where we answer your questions in the most unfiltered, uncensored format. Let me go to my page here, arielhelwani.substack.com. Pull it up. I've been jonesing for this. It's been a while since we did this, right? I mean, it's been like 3 weeks or something like that. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Let me go here. And of course, chronological. Who's first? El Cubano. By the way, shout out, you can listen to this podcast on the MMA Hour feed. It's falling, it never fits. There's also the MMA Fighting podcast feed. Just today, new podcast out. Shaheen Al-Shadi, A.K. Lee. Their Rankings podcast is a very nice listen. It's a very cool idea. MMA Fighting has the best independent rankings panel, I do believe, in the business. And they have a podcast that's out right now on the MMA Fighting feed that you can check out, that you can listen to. It's a nice listen. It's a nice recap of the month that was. And it's cool to hear, journalists talk about why people are ranked and the thought process behind it, all that stuff and more. It's a great idea. So check out the ranking show that is up right now on the MMA Fighting podcast feed. Also on MMAfighting.com. All right, let's answer some questions. First one up, El Cubano. Hola, Ariel. Rock voice. Finally, El Cubano has come back to the On the Nose segment. Thank you very much. On Monday, we were blessed with the prestigious, the highly prestigious, the highly robust MMA Hour Awards. Shout out to GC for continuing to be festive when possible, and to New York Rick, who showed he was a man of the people. Didn't dress up, though. Then today, we get an interview with the knockout king, Derek Lewis. What a great start to 2022. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Can't wait for another year of the MMA Hour. Neither can we. My question is, without throwing out your sources under the bus, which fight negotiations can you give us more information on, if any? Poirier versus Diaz, Adesanya, or Adesanya versus Whittaker to Viva Helwani. Oh, wow. El Cubano coming out with the big stuff right off the bat. All right. Dustin Poirier was on the Fight podcast with Teddy Atlas and the great Ken Rideout. Fantastic name. Oh, someone texting me now. Okay. He said that he had accepted a fight against Nathan Diaz, and there is some truth to that. Here's the situation. There is interest in booking that fight, Nathan Diaz versus Dustin Poirier. There is interest in booking that fight, and it has been discussed. It was sort of thrown out. Hey, do you want to do it on January 22nd? And there's interest in doing that as well from both fighters, Dustin Poirier and Nathan Diaz. They've made that clear, I think, on social media. The problem is that Nathan Diaz contract. That's the problem. There's one fight left, and they're not going to give him that last fight against Dustin. Now, they may do a deal where they'll add another fight. That's the problem. That's the holdup. If Nathan Diaz had 4 fights left, there's a chance that fight happens as soon as January 22nd or the, February 12th card. But it's that one fight. So there's a bit of a game being played right now, a bit of a tit-for-tat game. All right, you take this fight, we'll add this. You want that, we'll add that. And there's the Conor fight coming up, and there's the potential of some other fights outside of the UFC. So that's the game being played right now. So as of right now, I'm not going to sit here and say no chance. Obviously, time is ticking. Obviously, Poirier and Diaz want it. I know Diaz is in shape. Poirier just fought. But it's what do we do with that contract? Do we add another fight? How can we add another fight? How do we stick around for the Conor trilogy? How do we stick around and keep, Diaz under contract? That's the issue right now. So Dustin saying that he's accepted a fight is fine, but the real issue right now is Nathan. And Nathan wants the fight. I think he's made that clear. Dustin wants to fight. As for Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker 2, as I reported yesterday, Izzy hasn't signed, but I would be shocked if that fight doesn't happen on, is it February 12th? I don't want to keep saying the wrong date. Yes, February 12th. He hasn't signed. Remember when he did the whole, that's cap thing with the tweet? That's another interesting story to follow in 2022. Israel Adesanya's contract. Not quite at the point of Nathan's. I think there's a couple left, but that's an interesting one to follow. Could you imagine in 2022, we are facing a potential scenario where Izzy might reach the end of his contract, Diaz reaches the end of his contract, Conor McGregor reaches the end of his contract, Francis Ngannou reaches the end of his contract. Think about that for a second. Think about how big those names are. Think about the power that they have. Could be fascinating times. Now, the brilliance of the UFC is they don't let the fighters get to the end there because they know they want to lock them up before they get to the end, before they're able to test those waters, those free agent waters. But what if they want to? What if they play their cards right and they get to the point where they can? Fascinating time. So I think Izzy versus Whittaker 2 is more than likely going to happen on that day, but it is worth noting, as I did, that he has not signed. Hopefully that sufficed. New York Rick. Oh, this is from, okay. I'm just going to read the questions, not the back and forth, if you don't mind. Hi, Ariel. First-time commenter here with an interesting hypothetical regarding Juliana Peña's potential future as one of the GOATs. On Monday, GC boldly predicted that Peña will best Nunes in the rematch, and then Valentina will claim the 135-pound throne. What if Peña does indeed beat Nunes in the rematch, but then goes on to beat Shevchenko too? Where would she fall among the greatest fighters of all time? I mean, she'd be up there. Tell you that much. But again, it's tough with the greatest stuff because then she lost to Jermaine Durandamy. It would be an incredible stretch. It would be an absolute incredible stretch because I think by the time this is all said and done, I think there's a chance that we say that Valentina is the greatest of all time, honestly. The only thing holding Valentina back is the lack of great opponents. Nunes was very lucky in the sense that she was able to fight Ronda and Misha and Holly Holm and Chris Cyborg. She had those big names. Sometimes you're like DJ and you don't have those big names. P.S. Haven't heard anyone bring it up, but if Nate fights early 2022, then I'd like to see Wonder Boy as Conor's next opponent. Yeah, but I feel like I don't want to see Conor fight at 170. Honestly, I want to see him fight at 155. This is from Zach. Good morning, Ariel. My question this week is, where do you see Francis Ngannou going after he loses to Cyril Gane later this month? You say that with such certainty. Judging by recent articles, I'm guessing he will not get re-signed by the UFC. I personally don't see him going to Bellator. And what about boxing? Well, he has said recently that he really wants to box. I remember him saying he wanted to box before his career is over. Yes, that's what I just said. This week's handicapped hot take for you. Jake Paul would demolish Nate Diaz in a boxing match. He doesn't want that smoke. Much love, Zach. I don't think a lot of people would think that you're crazy. He has more of a traditional, boxing game than Nathan Diaz, although we haven't seen Nathan fight in that world, at least not traditionally, right? Like we've seen his boxing in MMA, but not in an actual boxing ring. As for Francis, look, if Francis Ngannou loses to Cyril Gane, he's not going to be yesterday's news. I would gladly sign him if I had a promotion. If I'm Bellator, I would gladly sign him. If I'm the UFC, I would gladly, guys, remember, this sport isn't about wins and losses, like just one or two. Look at Derek Lewis. Look how popular he is. Look at Tai Tuivasa. Look how popular he is. Now, of course, they're not, guys who are selling millions of pay-per-views, but people don't care if you lose one, you drop one. Look at Bisping. When GSP lost to Matt Serra, was he done? No, he came back. He was even more popular. So even if he loses, maybe he'll lose some leverage, but I wouldn't be shocked if the UFC tries to re-sign him. Look, Dana speaks highly of Francis. You notice, anytime he talks about Francis, he talks about his management. He's trying to get him to sign with someone else. He's trying to get him to be represented by someone else. He doesn't take a lot of shots at Francis anymore. He did in the past when he talked about him having a big ego. But I think Dana actually wants to be in business with Francis to a certain degree. I think anyone would recognize that Francis is a huge star. I would also say, and I've said this before, I think the way Francis's career has been mishandled by the UFC as of late, and maybe they'll say it's a two-way street, has been a travesty, truly. This man is a promoter's dream. He fights the way in which every promoter wants a fighter to fight, especially a heavyweight champion. He's got that incredible look, that incredible style, that incredible power, that incredible backstory. And I feel like we've heard nothing from him since March. Of course, interviews, this and that, but like he hasn't been promoted. And so I'm really curious to see, let's see how they promote him between now and January 22nd, right? They have a great runway here. They've got that show on the 15th, which isn't the best show. Is there a lot of Francis stuff being put out right now? Are you seeing him on billboards? This is the heavyweight champion of the world. And he looks like that and he fights like that. Promote him. Because the heavyweight champion is the one that is always going to resonate with the people more so than anyone, because he looks like a superhero and he fights like a superhero and he has power like a superhero. And I just feel like we're letting the politics get involved here. It's very unfortunate. Ariel, does absolute power corrupt absolutely? Sincerely, Dave from North Bay. What? Ariel, does absolute power corrupt absolutely? Sure. Tyler, what is the backstory behind your relationship with Patrick McAfee? The backstory, in the early days of the pandemic, he had me on a couple times and we hit it off, and that's it. I've only seen him very briefly once in person when I was at the SmackDown show at MSG. We have similar, I don't know, takes on careers, and we talked a lot when I was, leaving ESPN and all that. And I have, look, kayfabe aside, I don't know if I have so much respect for him. He would be on my Mount Rushmore right now of people in the media because of what he did, how he built it, the loyalty that he has to his guys, the fact that he's doing it essentially on his own. Of course, he has, he has sponsors and stuff like that, but like this is his own vision. And then, the stuff that he's doing in wrestling, I think he's the very best color analyst in this sport in the sport of wrestling, in the sports entertainment field, whatever the hell you want to call it, since Jerry the King Lawler. And he's going to be up there if he wants to with the King, with Ventura, with Bobby the Brain. I just think he's just an incredible talent, and the audience that he's built and his team is fantastic. Like, I just can't say enough good things, honestly. So anytime they want to have me on, it's fun. And I like messing around and having fun there. And he allows you to kind of just be yourself. So that's really it. There's no other backstory. He was kind enough to come on this show, my other pod. He's just a cool guy. Doesn't take himself too seriously. Gets media, gets what the people want. And I think we're moving in that direction. Like, people want those shows over the traditional media shows where everyone's sitting around in a suit and giving you 30-second sound bites. That's obviously the future. And it's the type of show that we've tried to do here for a very long time. And, getting Aaron Rodgers on his show is huge every single week. I think that took his show to another level. And the dynamic that he has with AJ Hawk is great. I mean, I could go on and on. So I'm a big fan. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of Peloton instructors? What? I only use one. I only have one favorite. Emma Lovewell, Live, Learn, Love Well. Actually, I don't know if I should admit this because probably you guys are going to make fun of me, but I've been taking the Peloton boxing classes lately. They're kind of fun. Little jab, right, double jab, right. It's fun. Just getting ready for all the haters in 2022. But no, I'm a big fan of Emma Lovewell because it's kind of like a workout and also a therapy session. It's great. I can't recommend it enough. I enjoy doing it. I look forward to doing it. It's not a chore. But I can't give you a Mount Rushmore because I only just pretty much, there's enough. You could go back. I'm about to approach my 200th workout, if you will. Not ride, but workout. but there's still some left, so I haven't ventured out just yet. What is a logical explanation for how Khamzat is yet to be booked? Dana almost assuredly said he would fight again in 2021, falling 267. Nah, that wasn't going to happen. Now it seems like we may have to wait until March. March! Oh my God, that's in 2 months. Let's get the Neil Magny fight. There is no reason. I mean, January was booked. I mean, you have to, like, they're usually booking these, 2, 3, 4 months out, unless something crazy happens, like Nathan wanting to fight Dustin. But I think we'll see him March, April. Let's see him against Neil Magny. Hello, Ariel. Since you named McGregor Poirier your rivalry of the year in 2021, it got me thinking about the great rivalries Conor has had throughout his UFC career. His rivalries with Aldo, Nate, Khabib, and Poirier have all had classic moments and produced some of the biggest fights in UFC history. Which rivalry is your favorite and why? Personally, I have to go with the Diaz one because 196 is the first event I ever watched, and I've been hooked ever since. Wow. Aldo, man, the Aldo one was great. The World Tour, that was amazing. The thing that made the Aldo one tough was just the fact that he couldn't engage as much because he didn't speak English. But man, go back to that World Tour in Ireland. That was incredible. What a scene that was. That was amazing. The World Tour was amazing. I wish we could have that back. Can't do it for every fight. Wouldn't make sense. Obviously can't do it in this day and age that we're living in, but a lot of fun. Khabib, definitely not one of my favorites. Got too personal. It was just uncomfortable, and no, definitely not. Poirier saw Aldo or Nate. The Nate one was cool because that press conference after they announced the first Nate fight after RDA had to withdraw. I was in London for Michael Bisping versus Anderson Silva, and I remember watching it and I'd be like, man, what a freaking scene that was. Him losing to Nate and coming back, that was a lot of fun. I'll go with the Nate one because there were two. And then the build-up was fun. And remember, they had that press conference prior to UFC 197, and Conor didn't show up, and the seat was left open, and they thought that Nate was going to bury him, and he's like, I'm not fighting anyone else. That was, again, I've said it a million times. You could do a whole documentary on those, 6 months in the UFC. So I'll go with that one. Sean, do you think Francis Ngannou seriously has a chance versus Tyson Fury? I think historically the champion boxer is going to beat the champion MMA fighter in boxing. Now you go to MMA, the MMA fighter is going to win. Steven, hope you and your family have a healthy and happy 2022. Got into Phuket safely and appreciated the 8 hours of audio your team provided along the way. Thank you. I hope the same for you and yours and for everyone's. 2 questions. How long does it take before you refer to a poster on here as a friend? Sometimes you do it. Just wonder how far back you go with them. Technically speaking, we go back to meeting in Montreal 20-ish years ago. Really? The days of both our families stealing DirecTV to watch Pride. I don't remember my family stealing DirecTV to watch Pride. Stephen C. Anyway, I mean, you're all my friends, but I don't know who this is. Anyhow, following up on an old question I had, what about getting some of your UFC buddies on your Monday show more often? I refer to Lionheart all the time to break down the fights. Could add them into the GC segment to give a different POV, and find you guys are sometimes literally recapping with the obvious to why GC's bets won or not. Thanks as always for taking all our questions, fighting for better fighter pay. Yeah, no, I mean, when you want someone to come on a regular basis, you probably have to pay them for that. So I think the format that we have here now works, but it's not a bad idea. Alec, top of the morning, Ariel. Recently have heard from a few fighters comment not wanting to fight at the Apex because of the small octagon. What are your thoughts on this? Yeah, I can see why. Also, the atmosphere. It's just sterile. I know you're not a fan of the Apex in general for events, but the ring, I think, is what bothers me the most. I feel like that was a bigger thing at the beginning of all of this, not so much now. I really do think that the smaller octagon can affect the outcomes of fights, definitely. I also think that it's just unprofessional to not have regular cage side. The reason for that is when they built the Apex, the lighting grid was for that smaller cage because they were going to have contender series fights there. And I guess by now they could have changed it, but that's the reason why. Like the Apex can realistically and theoretically, it can house the bigger cage, but it's because that place was built with the smaller cage in mind. One fight that comes to mind is Izzy versus Jan. Yeah, it'd be interesting to go back and see in an alternate universe fight that happened at the Apex, fight that happened in a normal arena, if they would have gone differently. I tend to think the majority of them would have gone the same, maybe a few here or there. I don't know if Izzy and Jan would have gone any differently, to be honest. Killishaw, I back. This is my first ever good question. Good to have you back, Killishaw. In wrestling, the pop after a good match amplifies with the theme music. A lot of our feel-good moments are associated with it. Do you think UFC should consider playing the entrance music on a lower volume post-victory before Joe Rogan comes in with the mic? Except for the times where there is shock value, for example, Pena winning or Connor's leg break. Give my regards to Srinivas and hello to GC. Not a bad idea, but I don't think it works. It just doesn't work. I don't hate it, but I wouldn't vouch for it. Sometimes just the crowd is enough. Hugo, hey Ariel, enjoyed the show on Monday. If Israel or Robert pull out of the fight, who would get the shot, Derek or Jared? I mean, why do we put that bad juju out there? I don't think they're going to pull out of the fight. Who would get the shot? Probably Derek. He's on the longer streak. I see some guy here trying to get me to say bad words like Michael Bisping. They troll Bisping on his thing. And I'm not going to fall for it. Tony, hello, Ariel. With a lot of fight of the year lists, I saw Gaethje versus Chandler and Jan versus Sandhagen. Which of these styles of fights do you enjoy more? The brawling style of Gaethje Chandler or the technical masterclass of Jan Sandhagen? Please no sitting on the fence. I personally feel Jan Sandhagen is what MMA is all about. Thanks. Man, it's like picking between, your two kids. They're both amazing. And I feel like the beauty of MMA is that we can appreciate the brawl and we can appreciate the technical masterpiece and we can appreciate the quick knockout and the great submission. And if I had to pick, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sorry if you think I'm sitting on the fence, but they're both amazing. I will take, you'll have, to a certain degree, it wasn't Jan Sandhagen, but you'll have Gaethje Chandler, amazing, riveting, incredible. You want to just scream and run through a wall. And then later in the card, you'll have Rose and Zhang Wei Li. And that's somewhat of a technical masterpiece, right? It's a different kind of fight. Love them both. Love them both. Can't pick one. Hey, Ariel, what's up with Chael? Spill the tea. Not my tea to spill, but anyone trying to claim that Chael, did anything to his family members, and you know who I'm talking about, they are wrong. Chael's a good man, and he loves his wife more than anything, and she is a saint of a woman. The stuff she does for him, preparing him for, it's just amazing. I'm envious of the way she treats him. It's that incredible. And my wife treats me great, but she goes to a whole different dimension. Trust me, whatever people were putting out there is not the truth. And that's all I'll say about that. And he's a legend. And he's the man. And he'll always be a good friend. Hey, Ariel, any idea who the UFC wants to headline the March pay-per-view? Not quite yet. Maybe Aljo Yan. Who's the other one? I don't think Usman. Not the flyweight. Who's it? Maybe Volkanovski Holloway. Not quite Glover. Yeah, maybe those. Hello, Ariel. I was recently looking at some old ESPN First Take clips and came across a clip of Dana White completely bashing you in front of Molly Kellerman and Stephen A. regarding the optics of having Rachel Ostovich on the same card as Greg Hardy. What was your reaction when you saw this? Did the leadership at ESPN reach out to you in any capacity? I hope they had your back. That was a weird time because remember, that was the first card on ESPN. It was the January, I think, 19th card. And for some bizarre reason, they decided it was a good call to put Rachel Ostovich, who was just a victim of domestic violence, with Greg Hardy on the same card. Not against each other, of course, but on the same card. Like, why? Why bring that upon yourself? And so I was on First Take, and I think maybe my only appearance on First Take. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. I don't know. And I said it was a bad look. And then Dana got all mad. No, nothing really happened. To be honest. That was, what are they going to say? He said something live. I don't even remember what this is all about, but I remember on TMZ him saying something, not so much, maybe maybe vaguely I remember, but no, nothing. Definitely no, hey man, we got your back. I got that enough, but towards the end, it was like a lot of things that were happening, and I felt, the main one was the aftermath of the Gina thing, and you kind of figured out what was what after that. Bonus question: please rank the following MMA fighters' YouTube channel by quality of content and production value. Bisping, Chael, Cormier. I would say Bisping's production has gone up exponentially. I'll give Chael the nod. I'll say then Bisping, then DC. Patrick, favorite segment of the week. 2 quick questions. Have any other managers, coaches, fighters been either mad or happy with you after your awards show like Captain Eric? No. Captain Eric Albarracin, till this day, 2019 awards, so it was beginning of 2020, I believe. Right? Yeah. Won't talk to me because I didn't give him the Coach of the Year award. Now, a part of me is honored that he cares that much, but we had a great relationship, and I can't believe that he still won't talk to me. He seems to think that I led him astray, that I told him this, that, or the other. I gave it to Eugene Behrman after the year that, Izzy and all the CKB guys had, and he still won't talk to me. It's crazy. It bums me out, but I did that one interview last year with Patricio Pitbull, and he was acting all weird. Like, man, life is too short for this crap. I'm sorry if you were upset, disappointed. It's just some guy giving out an award. Like, it's not that serious. That's why I always say highly prestigious and all that. Like, I'm poking fun at it. It's just some guy. There is no committee. It's just me. But that's why I say part of me is honored that you care that much. But enough to ruin a friendship. What was it like doing the show with Luke in BC? Fun. And can we expect more of that in the future? Not that I know of, but it was fun. Again, as I always said, there was no beef on this side of the table. I keep it 100. If I have beef, I'll tell you. There was no beef here. I don't like when people are, bending the truth, saying lies about me. I'll call that out, which I think I have enough up until this point, but it was fun, The crew that they have, the production team that they have is fantastic. It's a very impressive crew. And BC's fun. I haven't worked a lot with him because, when I was gone, I think he used to do the beat. They've got a great thing going, and I hope that everyone has success. There's enough time and real estate and YouTube channels and all that stuff for everyone. Can you recall, this is from Will, the most emotional interview that you've ever done? Man, that is tough. I'll tell you the first one that just comes to mind was when King Mo won the Strikeforce title, the light heavyweight title in Nashville, and I went to the back. One of my favorite post-fight interviews ever because he couldn't even stand. He's lying down. He just beat Gegard Mousasi. Couldn't stand. Had the belt draped on him. This is when we went into the locker room, and he just kept talking about how he was always second place. And this is the first time that he wins something. And he was crying, and Ryan Parsons was next to him. He was crying, and that was just very emotional. But there have been a lot, man. I feel like just recently on this show, Adrian Yanez, that was emotional. DC after, his loss to Stipe, that was emotional. There have been a lot. I'm forgetting them. I probably should do a better job of remembering. But the first one where I really felt that emotion was that King Mo one. Is Sean Strickland's disturbed guy on the edge persona work? I don't know, man. I hope. And I was actually thinking about that recently when I saw some of the tweets. Whatever it is, I don't know who it's appealing to. I guess I hope it's a work, but not the direction that I would go in. Like, I'm all good with personas and whatnot, but some of it is just downright offensive, but then other times it's like, man, please tell us this. Like, can you just wink? Can you just let us know that you're not going to do something to harm yourself or someone else? So I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I hope it is. What is your favorite fan interaction moment of 2021? There haven't been many as of late. Fan interaction moment. It was cool for me, like when I did some of those NBA games and people recognize you there. It's like, oh, cool, wow, people know me at an NBA game. Or the boxing stuff. I get some really, really, really nice messages on social media, especially on Instagram, where people can write longer about how the shows got them through tough times or gave them an escape. Like, those are the ones that really mean the most to me. So I can't pinpoint one, but when people write that stuff to me, it really, truly, truly means a lot. Like, what am I doing here? I'm talking in front of a microphone. I can't believe people choose to listen to me, to download, to tune in. And especially if you're having a hard day and you use us as the escape, nothing better than that. How many pay-per-view events should we expect this year? More than 2021? No, 12, 13. Can you give us a preview of some of the up-and-comers that we should be excited about listening to on your show? Last year, a lot of them seemed to come out of the UK. UK doing a great job. Europe doing a great job. Be interested on your take on who should we be paying attention to. P.S. My 2022 hot take, Vladdy for MVP. Yeah, it'd be nice if they get back to work. Enough of this lockout nonsense. Only baseball, right? Come on, guys. What's wrong with you? Read the damn room. Like, this is supposed to be transaction period, hot stove period. No one cares. You're killing yourselves. By the way, pandemic, people losing their jobs, people at home, depressed, sick, lonely, not the time to be squabbling over multis of millions of dollars. Not the time, guys. Read the freaking room. Up-and-comers, golly. You watch your LFAs, you watch your Cage Warriors, your ACAs. Ton of them. Hi, Ariel. So I had COVID over Christmas. I'm very sorry to hear that. This is from Nim. I'm fine now. I had a lot of time in my hands recently. So I ended up watching about 4 hours worth of Chael Sonnen promo content, including everything you put out on Twitter. I did not appreciate him in his time as much as I was such a silver mark. So my question is, what's the best Chael Sonnen promo moment for you? Mine is when he asked Tito to tell us another story about a jackal. To me, the ultimate was that black and white interview. He had been suspended in August after the Anderson fight, and then didn't do any media for almost an entire year. That was the following July. We're in a hotel room in Las Vegas, July of 2011, and I say to him, Chael, it's nice to see you. And then he says, it's good to be seen. And that's the one with the carrot and the bus, and that's the one with the, the username not required, password not required. I mean, it was just like one hit after the next. So I know that's not like your traditional 30-second promo. But that's my favorite. Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck in the cage is probably one of the more famous ones. But like, as far as like a Chael interview, that to me is the quintessential one. Any word on who will main event UFC 272? Not yet. Talked about that earlier. Harry, I loved Monday's show. Thought GC was a great addition to the MMA Awards. How about that, GC? Realistically, if the PFL loses Kayla Harrison, what do they have left to offer? All the big names they brought in for last season did not work out well, and I've always thought that their production was lacking. I don't agree with the production part. I think their production is fine. I think it's actually quite solid. Let's see. I feel like they have a couple of surprises up their sleeves. New TV deal coming up. Do they stay with ESPN? Do they go to a Peacock? Do they go to an Amazon? Do they go to a Turner? We shall see. I obviously think Kayla will be great. I think the Kayla at 155 thing is going to run its course. I honestly do. So let's see what they have. I feel like they got a couple rabbits to pull out of their hats. So let's see. But yes, keeping Kayla would be great. I mean, she's by far their biggest name. She's a huge talent and a budding superstar and cuts great promos and is an interesting interview and just a very likable person to follow. I would urge them to try their best to keep her. Will, hi Ariel. Would love to hear what it is about Diaz that makes Poirier so excited to get back in the cage so quickly and so on such. Hi Ariel. Would love to hear what it is about Diaz that makes Poirier so excited to get back in the cage so quickly and on short notice. It's personal. They were supposed to fight back at UFC 230, and they went back and forth, and a lot has been said. This one is just personal. Also, it kind of makes sense for both of them at this stage of their career, but it's really just, it's personal. And yeah, as Newman notes, money fight, Nate keeps calling him out. But really, I think just they don't like each other. But of course, there's money to be made. Mark, Hi, Ariel. Hope you had a good Christmas and a Happy New Year's too. Thank you. By the way, why do people say Happy New Year's? It should be Happy New Year, no? I guess New Year's Eve. When people say Happy New Year's, seems weird to me. My question is, do you think, considering how reluctant Dana was to announce Carlos Esparza versus Thug Rose's next opponent, her unfortunate eye injury at the latest Fury could let someone else take her spot? I hope not. But yes, that was gruesome. By the way, that Fury grappling was really impressive. What a cast of characters they had there. The conspiracy theorist in me couldn't help but think, oh, they're no longer in the Shug business, Submission Underground. Now they're going to build up this one. And that's fine, that's business. But I just thought it was, wow, that was really impressive. Also very smart to put it on at the end of the year. You get all these big names on there. Rose was supposed to be on. She unfortunately got COVID, but there was, Neil Magny and Kevin Holland and Carlos Esparza and Clay Guida and Donald Cerrone and Sean Brady, and the list goes on and on. Very impressive. Not a lot going on. They should try to do that as a yearly thing, in my opinion. But yes, I hope that we get Esparza versus Rose too. Ariel, you sometimes mention how you won't report on a story until you've got a second source. Has anyone ever given you a false story in an attempt to discredit you? I don't think anyone has ever tried to lead me astray. I will say someone has told me something in the past, like, yeah, this is good, you could go with it. And then I found out it wasn't. I was like, oh, thank God I didn't report that. That has definitely happened. So it's a good lesson to anyone out there. You should always have two sources. I would also say in 2016, when the UFC thought that there was a mole, they would put out internal information about fake fights, thinking that I would grab one of these and report it and catch the mole. But of course, there was no mole. I didn't have anyone on the inside. And so I never got any of the fake fights. They even thought that I was on like conference calls and stuff. It was that crazy. Never happened. I was never on a conference call, never on the emails, none of it. Just had sources like any other reporter has sources. Crazy. Hey, Ariel, from Terrence. Can we have Connor pick fantasy drafts for DraftKings since everyone could bet on that? Also, what are the chances we get Connor versus Nate in Connor's own promotion in 2023? 2023? I guess it's possible. Or maybe they just have like a one-off. I think this is one of the UFC's biggest fears. For sure. I think they don't want anyone to do that. So I think there is a chance, especially with Connor 2 fights left, 1 fight left. I would be crazy to say no chance. Connor, what's he talking about here? Pick fantasy drafts for DraftKings?
Yeah, like DraftKings fantasy lineup.
Yeah, we're doing that, right?
So we have a league. He's saying like pick my team and everything, but I'm going against everyone, so
yeah.
I can't do that.
Are we doing that for the first one?
Oh yeah, we're gonna go all year long. We had someone won some money. I think it was El Cubano.
Yeah, he calls himself.
Yeah, he won a decent amount of money off the first one. Hopefully, I'm really starting to figure out how to commission them. So we're getting better every week with it. We'll be back for the Cater Giga one.
All right, cool. Rami Helwani, will we ever see you work an NBA game again? I know there are obvious hurdles, but you are the living proof that if there is a will, there is a way. I would love it. Additionally, but no plans at the moment. It was fun. It was definitely fun. Like there were moments there I was like, man, I can't believe I'm working Christmas Day here. Christmas Day in Canada? This is wild. Man, Kawhi Leonard just had a triple-double in Miami, and I'm the guy interviewing him as he walks off. Crazy. How did I end up here? Definitely had a lot of those moments. Additionally, I was hoping you could go into detail about your Instagram Live with the Buffalo Bills. Yes, that was yesterday. What did it mean to you? And is there potential for more collaboration with them in the future? No potential for any of that. What happened was every time, so I obviously I love the Bills, and I would notice that I tweet about them, I retweet them, and I felt like they would never engage with any of my stuff. Now, I'm not I don't care. You don't need. Part of it was a bit of a joke as well, but like it got to the point where they would put out a lot of these sort of like celeb video. Here are celeb fans wishing us luck or talking about the Bills, and I was like, man, I feel like you see my stuff. I'm verified. Can I not get a like? Can I not get a something, a fist bump, a something? So then when I would go on McAfee's show and other people's show, I would talk about how I love the Bills, but I feel like their social media is ignoring me. Like I'd see them interact with people in the comments. I just want some love. They had like a contest. Oh, show us your jersey. Here I am with my Thurman Thomas jersey. Nothing. Not a mention. Not a like. Not a nothing. I'm not begging for anything, but it's just be nice to be acknowledged. The Buffalo Bills are my favorite team. So then I mentioned it on Slow News Day with the great Kevin Clark. And then all of a sudden, voila, they followed me and now we're buds. And so it was nice to get that recognition, but it's cool, man. Like you're a kid and you're like, wow, I'm talking to the Buffalo Bills. Of course you're not. I mean, you're talking to someone who works for the Bills, but it just feels cool. So it was a nice moment and it was kind of a nice conclusion to that saga of me saying that they weren't, paying attention to me. All in good fun. Relax, everyone. Potential to do more? No, but it's fun to be a fan. It's really fun to be a fan. It's fun to be acknowledged by your team. I did something very briefly with the Knicks last year in the playoffs. It's a crazy thing for me that people even want me to be a part of any of this. I just grew up a diehard fan of these teams, and I can't wait till the Expos come back, and I'll do stuff with them as well. Jordan, hey Ariel, why do you think the UFC has struggled to consistently have a marquee star at heavyweight? Lesnar's run was short-lived. Kane and JDS weren't huge draws. Kane, had a nice run. DC was underappreciated. Considering boxing's rich history, I mean, look at what they're doing with Francis. That's for one. But I think because, Stipe wasn't really willing to get behind all the promotion stuff to a degree, but because the heavyweight fights are so unpredictable, no one was holding the belt for more than 2, max 3 title defenses. It was moving around like a hot potato. So they haven't had that dominant star for 5 years. But let me tell you something. When you have that star like Francis Ngannou, you better promote the hell out of him because there's a lot of money to be made there. Are they going to add a co-main to UFC 271 in Feb or stick with Cannonier Brunson? Seems like that's what they're going with. All right, just a few here. Matthew, hey Ariel, happy Wednesday. Do Nate and Dustin actually have a fight in the next 3 months? I'll say yes. If so, what happens to DP if Nate wins and or him? What are you most excited for this year? I'm really excited for Ngannou versus Gan. I'm excited for Izzy to return. Feels like it's been a while, June, since we last saw him. I'm excited for Jan Sterling. I'm excited for Glover versus Yuri. I'm excited to see if Islam can come, to the mountaintop as well. Excited to see if Usman can break the records. Does Khamzat get the shot? Excited for Leon to finally get his title shot. I'm excited for the Pena-Nunes rematch. I'm excited for Rose versus Carlo too. I know I'm mentioning a lot here. Excited for Max versus Volkanovski 3. There's a lot to be excited about. AJ McKee over in Bellator. Happy New Year. 2 quick questions. With his sharp boxing and great takedown defense, what type of fighter has the best chance of beating Petr Yan? Good question. What type of fighter has the best chance of beating Petr Yan? I think Dillashaw could be an interesting one. He's got the wrestling. He's got the boxing. Merab would be an interesting one. I'll say Dillashaw Merab. Do you think Cejudo will come back to fight Yan if Yan keeps winning? I think Cejudo's going to fight again. Who, when, where, why, how? I don't know, but I think he fights again. Hey, Ariel, Happy New Year. I hope you and the family had a great holiday period. With the UFC, thank you, potentially coming to London in March, hopefully, is there any chance of them returning to Ireland? I haven't heard, but yes, I hope. Those crowds are amazing. There was an event scheduled for August 2020. COVID scrapped. Ian Gary, Dean Barry. Could we see a possibility of a Dublin event in the near future? I would love it. Also, when will Helwani make his return to the streets of Dublin? Oh, I would love it. I need to do something there. I want to go back there. It was great, but no plans as of right now. Sam Watkins, not to be confused with the wide receiver. Yo, Ariel, love the award show. GC added some nice regular guy answers in between yours and New York Rick's compelling arguments. LOL, nothing but love for you, GC. I just want to comment that I do enjoy the weekly events at the Apex, if only for the fact that I can get it every weekend. UFC has become my Saturday event, and when it's not on, I miss it. Okay, cool. By the way, I'm not advocating against the weekly Saturday thing. I do think the roster suffers and the card suffers. I'm just saying, can we get out of that place? That's all. But they were doing, by the way, they were doing weekly Saturday events all over the damn world, 2 years ago. That's all. Of course, events with a big crowd are awesome, but I take 45 events a year over just 12. I'm not advocating for 12 events. Of course, I want more. The fighters get paid more. I'm just saying the apex is getting a little stale for me. How much do you think the UFC wants this Diaz-Poirier fight to happen? I think to a degree. I don't think they're going crazy gaga over it, but to a degree. It would be Nate's last fight on his contract. They're not going to... I would be shocked if they give him this as their last fight, as his last fight. I'd be shocked. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to explore some other options outside the UFC. I also wouldn't be surprised if somehow the UFC somehow doesn't make this fight happen. Delays Nate's contract, yes, which has happened already, and waits for Conor. Yeah, that could happen. What do you think? That could happen. It's all up in the air right now with Nathan. Does he fight Dustin and get maybe one fight added on there, the Conor fight? There's really two big fights for Nathan at this juncture in the UFC, right? Number one would be the Conor fight. I would say number two would be the Dustin fight. Of course, there's other fights out there that you can have, and they'd be lovely. Oh, him versus, I don't know, Tony Ferguson or something like that. But those are like the big ones that have rich history behind them right now. So they want those two fights. And if he wins those two fights, there'll be some, momentum behind him. But the question is, he's now to that interesting spot in a fighter's career where there's one fight left. You want to roll the dice? One fight, go fight Dustin Poirier, you win, and then you go make millions elsewhere? Dicey. Super dicey. So this is the game being played. And I think January 22nd is just not, it's coming up in what 17 days? It's not incredibly realistic. It could happen. It could happen as we speak. I'm not going to rule it out. But could it happen in the next 3 months? Sure. I think a scenario where maybe he fights this one, gets another fight added on, we'll see. I think the days of him signing 6-fight deals are over. And I wish every fighter would go down that path. 4-fight, fine. 6, 8, crazy. I think those days are over for Nathan. But yeah, one of the many interesting stories to follow. What's up with Kron Gracie? This is from Jake. My good friend, Guilherme Cruz, a Brazilian beast, just spoke to his dad about his future. Go check that out right now on MMAfighting.com. Yeah, it seems like it's up in the air at the moment. Interesting, right? Final question. Congrats on another fantastic year as MMA's #1 journalist. Thank you. I had a brief conversation with you at the UFC 214 open workouts, and you were one of the most genuine individuals / celebrities I've ever met. I don't know about the second part, but thank you. See, I'm not such a bad guy, right? I appreciate it. I want to piggyback off Monday's episode of Bold Predictions. My prediction is that Erin Blanchfield will be a top 5 flyweight by year's end. I could see it happening for sure. Very talented, very young. Furthermore, I think she beats Valentina and becomes champ by the end of 2023. What do you think of this prediction? Am I too bold, or can you actually see this happening? Will I go out and say it myself? No. Too much respect for Valentina. Do I think it's the perfect bold prediction? Yes. That's a bold prediction. Now, it's technically a bold prediction for 2023, but even the top five is not the boldest because I think she's in that vicinity. Is she ranked? She's in that vicinity of getting into, there's not a ton of great talent, right? Let me take that back. There's a path for her to get into the top 5 by the end of the year if she is active and gets the right kind of fights. I'm just trying to scroll down here. Yeah, so MMA Fighting has her tied for 14th. Shevchenko 1, Andrade 2, Chukagian 3, Juliana Velasquez, Lauren Murphy, Jennifer Maia, Liz Carmouche, Tyler Santos, who I suspect will probably be next for Shevchenko, Alima Lee McFarlane, Joanne Wood, Viviane Araujo, Andrea Lee, Alexa Grasso, Erin Blanchfield. Blanchfield, Grasso would be good. Yeah, I could see it happening. Beating Shevchenko, that's bold. I'm not going to co-sign, but I respect it. All right? Boom.